Hello? Now yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. My name is Caterina Augustu. I'm the Senior Advisor on Grids and Flexibility at Solar Power Europe, and today I will be your moderator. Feel free to find a spot, and we'll start in a bit. This session, today, it's going to bring stories from solar and storage on Central and Eastern Europe in order to understand what's happening on the several countries inside of this region and which kind of good practices and lessons to learn we can take from this. As you know, energy transition is going faster or not so fast in some cases than we have been seeing. Deployment of solar is expanding in a huge scale, more than much of other stakeholders expected, but that's great for us. But the problem is also that solar and flexibility is not growing as fast as solar, and this is what we need to do. We need to expand our capacity in terms of flexibility to make our grids more resilient, more stable, and that's on storage and flexibility. So for today, we are going to show interesting examples on the Central and Eastern European countries that can be a place to take of innovative new policies, also new business cases, but also exemplify what's still missing in terms of market best practices and also in terms of regulation and other grid barriers that are still front on these countries. So I hope you are ready to learn from these countries, and I hope you take your questions, prepare yourself, because you're going to be also part of this session. So let's get started. Let's get flex. And to start, I would like to welcome to the stage Andreea Manea, Executive Director of REPIA, the Romanian Photovoltaic Industry Association, to give us a perspective of Romania. Please, Andreea, welcome to the stage.
Can you hear me? Yes. Great. Thanks a lot. So, since that is that moment in time when our part of Europe becomes more and more important in the solar industry, that's a great news for us. We had a period of time when we struggled to restart our industry of more or less 7-8 years. And now we are experiencing, let's say a boom period, but a very good period of time for our industry. We have capacities which are built, new capacities in operation. We also started with some storage. Our number of people involved in the industry is growing year by year and becomes relevant for Romania. So I think it's just the beginning of a very good period of time for renewables. I have a slide which can help you better understand what's happening in our country. It's practically shows you the capacity, what it's now in operation with over 5 gigawatts of solar production, which is equally divided between prosumers and large-scale capacities. What is more interesting that 3 years ago we had only 1.3 gigawatts in solar in Romania in 21, let's say, and now in 25 we have over 5 gigawatts. So it's a huge increase for our industry in the country. Storage, because it's one of the subjects of the today session. We are at the beginning of installation for storage. There are more or less 270 megawatts hour installed, but the plants are bigger than that. We have huge EU funds at our disposal. I will tell you later more details about this. But the future looks that will include for sure also storage in correlation with solar. As I said, the increased number of people which are already working in our industry, and we have here an estimation from a study performed for Solar Power Europe. It's around 80,000 people which will be involved around 2027. From my personal estimation, I think we're already there and will surpass this number, I think, next year. PPAs, because they are very important for our industry, and we had also a period of time when it was impossible to conclude PPAs in Romania. Now it's a free market, we can do it. We started to have it, not so many for the moment, but since that the market it's becoming more and more appealing for PPAs, and an increased number of takers are looking to sign this type of contracts also for solar in Romania. All in all, we have increased targets for 2030, 2035 for Romania. The regulation compared to other EU countries looks very good from the permitting point of view. We have 2, maybe 3 years in order to achieve a ready-to-build status, which in my personal view, it's quite excellent. Of course, it's a bottleneck with the grids, like all over the Europe, but it's manageable. We'll have new CFD auctions this year, touching also solar. So a lot of things to be seen in Romania in the next period of time. So if you need other details related to what is happening to the solar industry in Romania, please feel free to contact us directly. Thank you.
Andrea. And now I would like to travel to Czech Republic, and for that I would like to invite Jan Fosek to bring the perspective of Czech Republic as Chairman Board of Solar Association.
So thank you very much, Katarina. Hello everyone. Yes, Jan Fosek representing Czech Republic, representing solar and storage, and I have a few slides to describe you similarly the situation as Andrei did in case of Romania. For you to remember some numbers, we are adding about 1 gigawatt peak of solar last couple of years. As you can see, in 2024, we have added almost 1 gigawatt peak of new solar, while the number of storage additions are only about half. The reason is that still most of the numbers come from the households, and due to the drop of interest in households and the shift towards CNI and utility scale in solar and not yet in storage. That's why the difference between, that's why the energy storage is not on the same pace as solar at the moment. But you will see the situation is hopefully getting better and better. Similar to Romania, a little bit lower, the total installed capacity in solar in Czech Republic is 4.5 gig. Total battery capacity is 2 gigawatt hours, but unlike to Romania, most of this number comes from the residential, because we have opposite problem. We have very exact and very accurate data from households and residential and connected with solar, but we don't have the data for batteries connected with other source, for example, the part of gas turbines or something, like a peak plants, because they are in the statistics that are just the source, not with the batteries. But we know that we are somewhere around between 100 and 200 megawatt hours in the large scale. So 2 gigawatt hours mostly from the households. Where we are number 3 in the whole Europe, as I learned yesterday, are the amount and percentage of batteries installed together with PVs at households. We need to add up a little bit in the large scale. Okay, so and 2 slides, remaining one about state of solar, another one state of storage. Some of the problems you know from other countries, the transition, the shift from residential to CNI and large scale is taking place, is happening. Drop of interest in the residential sector as there were some cuts of subsidies, low energy prices, the saturation of the market. Large projects, we have big problems with DSO capacities that pays for solar as well as for storage. As you will see, we have adopted all the legislation necessary for uptake of storage, but there are no DSOs to accept the the registrations. That's the problem. Unfortunately, and unlike to Romania, we have missing auctions for solar and for storage. CFD and PPA is missing. Very few ground-mounted systems, but getting better as the projects from Modernization Fund and National Recovery Plan are going online this year. Advanced rules of agri-PV. That's, by the way, the work here of my colleague Jiří sitting here. And what's the worst destroying the market, worstly destroying the market, is the unstable investment environment when after 15 years since the first solar boom, again, like 13th retroactive measure took place, and the Minister of Finance from the government, which we all voted for, which said is going to promote renewable energy, they cut the subsidies, by the way, in the law, which is about to promote the energy storage. So really, a really stupid situation. And the last slide, storage situation in Czechia. Finally, the law has been adopted, including the retroactive measures against the PV owners from the plans from 2009 and 2010. The law was signed by the president last week, so we are super happy about it, and it's going to be effective from the autumn, from the 1st of October this year. Czech Energy Regulatory Office and Czech TSO is very supportive. It's good. We wish that the DSOs would be as supportive as well. Double charging is eliminated, and favorable fees for energy storage have been promoted. We are glad for that. So it's even the fees for ancillary services will be removed, will be banned together with fees for renewables. DSO's reluctant approach I already mentioned. The problem with speculative reservations, they are blocking the capacities for new PV and the new storage. That's the real problem. That's where the DSOs are right, and we are helping them as the Solar Association and Energy Storage Association to get rid of the problems. Quite a good subsidies, and the news are there that the standalone batteries will be supported. The call will be announced from now on in 2 weeks, that we will have, as in the case of Poland and other countries, the standalone batteries subsidy from Modernization Fund taking place since 2 weeks from now on. And the last thing, we had a stupid public affair of load banks and diesel generators, which was kind of really like a boulevard. But at the end of the day, we used it to convince the politicians that the batteries and flexibility might be the way out of it, and we don't have to ban the load banks. Anyways, the ban is going to take place from the January 2026, which means even brighter future for storage and flexibility.
Next, I would like to continue our trip to Bulgaria with Nicola Deskov from the from the Association for Production, Storage and Trading Electricity, the chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Katarina. Thank you, everybody, for being here. 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, we weren't so sure people are not going to stay downstairs, but great to see that turnout. My name is Nikola Gazdov. I'm chairman of APSTE, the Association for Production, Storage and Trading of Electricity. And today I'm going to spend a couple of minutes to tell you what's happening in Bulgaria in solar and storage. Our association is not only a solar association, although most members are actually active just in that field. I think about 10% of our memberships is also part of Solar Power Europe. But we also have wind developers, we have storage companies, service providers, etc., etc. So what's happened in Bulgaria? Similar to what Andrei mentioned about Romania and what we see is happening in the Czech Republic, the last 5 years have been years of growth. So we had, even less than 5 years ago, about 1 gigawatt, and that was not moving for about a decade. Then in less than 5 years, we added another 4 gigawatts of solar, which is great, of course, and it has caused many positive effects, maybe some not so positive if you ask grid operators here and there. What is not so good, of course, is that we have seen pretty much zero new wind projects coming online over the last decade, and of course this has to change. We also expect it is going to change because there's a pipeline of at least 6 gigawatts of late stage development of solar and wind projects. The solar ones are going to come online, some of them this year, next year, and then the bigger projects as well as the wind projects are going to be coming online up to 2028. Currently we had, or let's say very recently we had an event together with the TSO. They told us that they expect seeing all the new projects coming to the grid, that still this spring we're going to see days with 70, even 80% share of solar in the consumption of the country. So this is massive. Bulgaria is historically a coal-dominated country with also a nuclear power plant. So having 70% or even more than 70% of solar in the system has been considered absolutely impossible. So we showed that it's possible, and this is good, but then it also causes some negative effects, cannibalization. So we've seen very low and zero prices, in some cases negative prices, which has caused many people to consider solar being rubbish and not used properly and bad for the system. But we very well know this is actually a market signal. It's a market signal that volatility has to be addressed, and storage is the solution. So what has happened over the last, let's say, 18 months is that we've worked closely with policymakers. Some reforms were done, and now it's quite easy. I would say probably one of the easier countries in Europe to do hybrid plants and to do standalone storage. So the procedures have been simplified a lot. This has attracted massive interest. So as you see also in the presentation, perhaps Bulgaria has experienced a wave of investment interest. The TSO said last week that they already have received more than 10 gigawatts AC of applications, 28 gigawatt hours for standalone and hybrid storage, roughly 7 gigawatts already with grid connection agreements. So at some point over the next couple of years, we expect to see the first very big projects coming online. Already we have perhaps about 1 to 2 gigawatt hours under construction. I would say also the biggest project in Europe invested or done directly by an energy-intensive industrial user as an investor. It's a 500 megawatt hour battery, 125 megawatts, so a 4-hour battery. It's pretty much finalized. We expect it to come online over the next 4 to 6 weeks. And I think it's going to be quite a bang because it's indeed one of the biggest energy consumers in the country. So what's next? I mean, as we see it, probably in 12 to 18 months from today, Bulgaria is going to have 2 to 5 gigawatt hours of storage online. Why the big difference? Because there's been pending confirmation of financing from the National Recovery and Resilience Plan, which is probably going to speed up some of the projects if finally approved. If not, maybe we're going to see a bit of a lesser turnout. Anyways, many projects are going to come online. So this increased, number of new and until now unfamiliar technology might lead to problems. So it's absolutely critical that we focus on safety. It's absolutely critical that developers work with the TSO and with grid operators to improve reliability of these systems. They can do a lot for the system. As you know, storage can provide multiple services. And it's also very important that I say this to everybody here. I think we try to do it in Bulgaria, but it's critical for pretty much every country in Europe. We need to work to win the public approval. Why? Because part of Russia's hybrid warfare against the European Union has been to distribute very well-structured propaganda campaign against solar, wind, now against storage. Already we see the results in some countries. There's been a temporary moratorium in Spain against storage. We need to fight that narratives. They're false, they're not true. We need to show people and to explain in a very simple way and convincingly why solar, storage and wind are good. So we need to spread the good word, and the good word, as we know, is that solar plus storage helps decrease electricity costs and increase European energy autonomy. So renewables contribute to a more competitive Europe that is less dependent on importing fossil fuels. And I think this is the message that I leave you with. Thank you very much. And before I go, if you're interested in corporate procurement, you're welcome to attend Resource Southeast in Sofia, 21st, 22nd of May. It's going to cover the whole region, not only Bulgaria, so Romania, Greece as well, Serbia, Croatia, perhaps Turkey, but feel free to ask me if you want to know more. Thank you.
And for our last stop, we are going to Poland, and for that, Irena Gadeski is going to take us there to show us the best practice and the challenge in Poland.
Hello, my name is Irena Gajewska. I am the Vice President of the Polish Solar Association. I also work for the Lightsource BB, so one of the major solar developers. And, well, I didn't prepare the slide. Apologies for this. I will try to tell the story. So in Poland, we are, in a way, currently, I would say, in the renewable market, victim of our success because, well, over 30 gigawatts of installed capacity in the system, 10.6 of onshore wind, despite the unfavorable regulation over the last 8 years. In solar, over 21 gigawatts. Out of this, 12 gigawatts of households, households mainly, like up to 50 kilowatts. The rest is utility scale. So sooner than anyone expected, we realized we were faced with the reality of negative prices, of the duck curve, so cannibalization, and renewable energy curtailments. So only last year, it was about 1 terawatt hour of curtailed energy. And we had first solar curtailments already in March this year. And Poland is not that sunny country as some others in Europe. So we see it's a growing challenge. And of course, batteries are a solution to this, to improve the profitability of the PV products. And the whole business is looking into the opportunities of, let's say, hybridizing products, combining wind with solar using batteries. The challenge is that the regulation is not very favorable. For example, when we are collocating products, there is only one installation can participate in the support scheme. We still don't have the regulation for cable pulling, including BESS. So the cable pulling introduced 2 years ago offers grid sharing for example, onshore wind and PV, but the battery are not included. This is supposed to change this year, hopefully, but still, this is a challenge. So when it comes to storage and where we are, well, there is no dedicated support scheme, and in this reality, the not obvious scheme came as an option for storage developers, capacity market scheme. It was not designated initially for batteries. It was to keep coal in the system. But 3 years ago, we have seen first storage, first batteries winning the capacity auctions. First, it was like 165 megawatts. The next year, it was tenfold. In December, we had a first auction, the third auction, and net capacity for storage that won to support the 17-year capacity contract was 4 gigawatts. We will see in 5 years how much of this capacity will actually go online. The TSO who are running the capacity market auction, they are introducing milestones to make sure that these projects go online. So far, we have seen, I would say, 1.5 gigawatts capacity being built. Actually, the announcements of the winners that they started construction. So currently, this is the reality. We've got around 100 megawatts of storage in households. This was, incentivized by the government policy because we've got 1.2 million prosumers. So the new edition of the state policy offers subsidies for household storage. However, from my perspective, today we are in the beginning. It's a beginning of a journey for storage in Poland. Later on, during discussion, I will also tell you about the CAPEX subsidy scheme that has been introduced in Poland quite recently, because we have to wait longer for the EU money from the Resilience and Recovery Fund. It's going to be 1.2 billion euros for development of storage in Poland in the coming years, soon actually, because it has to be spent towards the end of 2028, and the projects will have to go online by that date. So from my perspective, it's a verification time, whether the business will be able to deliver. The state, well, so far has not been helping very much to actually develop viable business models. Thank you.
Thank you to the four of you for helping me travel to your countries and also help us to have more insights of what's happening, not just on solar, but also on storage, and how better these systems can work together. To the audience, now I ask you, prepare your questions. You will have time to ask her, so think about it. And for the moment, I will have some questions on my side. I'm curious to know, starting with you, Jan, you said that Czech Republic is already removing double charging of storage, and this was one of the requests of the clean energy package in 2019, and we are in 2025. How is it possible, and how can other countries achieve the same? Can you tell us more about it?
Yes, please be so reluctant as the Czech Republic and Czech politicians were. Yes, that's the only advantage of latecomers, which means that, like for example, in Poland or in Netherlands, when we speak with our friends with Nolt and others, they have problems, for example, with households without energy storage because they are creating the problems. Because we all started with solar and started adding storage later. Since in Czech Republic nothing happened since 2009 and 2010, we have the advantage of making things right and have the lessons learned. That's why we are starting now. At the end of all the countries, even Africa is ahead of us. Yes, so we have a chance to make the things right. And since finally European Commission made a pressure together with us, supported us in the pressure to politicians to adopt the proper rules for energy storage. That's why we managed to force them, together with TSO, which is on our side, as well as with Energy Regulatory Office, that we removed the double charging already, which is promoted in Clean Energy Package, and we also promoted the favorable fees, as I said, so you, for example, don't pay for connecting the standalone battery once it is allowed by the law, which is in the autumn of this year. So, postpone everything, and then you are there.
So learn from the difficulties, and
Yeah,
then
learn
you will
from the
be able to
difficulties.
advance.
And non-actions.
Yeah. You speak well about the TSO, but Irene, before you were saying that it's not the same case in Poland. We have a lot of challenge with the DSO, with the TSO, and especially regarding the auctions, how things are treated. Can you elaborate a bit more? And how do you, what kind of lessons can we exchange to other countries on to improve this?
Well, it's a bit more complicated story with our TSO, the DNOs. Actually, the business believes in the storage business. Over 42 gigawatts of issued grid conditions. So both on the DNO side and on the TSO. Well, today the TSO is actually in favor of including batteries in this cable pooling mechanism. And it seems that actually the industry and the DNOs also came to the same conclusion, that they're like pushing together for this solution. However, at first stages of introducing this regulation, there was some reluctance on both the transmission operators side and the DNOs. So I believe we are on good track. The draft regulation for the update of the energy law was published this Monday, and now we are in the public consultation. So the message from the operators is that in the beginning, that towards the end of this year, this law will have to be passed. And I guess some of you are familiar with the grid connections queue in Poland. Well, so there is big determination on especially on the TSO side, to deal with this problem. So I believe the declaration about the update of the law is, I would say, is strong enough, firm enough, so that we have this energy law update, and we are in a, let's say, better reality in the beginning of next year. When it comes to, let's say, subsidies, so as I said, the scheme, which was initially not designated for specifically for batteries, became the only option for the investors to win, let's say, to secure some revenue that can be put forward then to the financing institution as a basis for providing debt financing. So far, we don't have let's say, alternative instrument like CFD for storage. There are some messages from the ministry that with the new auction scheme for renewables, with the implementation of the NZIA, so new criteria for support scheme, the new installations will be obliged to have storage included. We'll see. And to end with the good news. So as I said, in the end of last year, the European Commission approved the stated program for the deployment of storage in Poland. So this is a state aid of worth 1.2 billion of euros and 1 million billion of zlotys. So one fifth, let's say, is dedicated to developing a huge storage project, which is to be a few hundred, which is to be operated already by the end of 2027. So PGE, actually the state utility, is going to build it. And, well, when it comes to the 4 billion zlotys, well, we'll find out towards the end of this year which market players are going to win the support in this scheme. Well, a lot of money can be obtained from 45 to 65% of the capex cost. But, well, this can be only standalone storage. Standalone batteries, so the hopes of the industry to improve the profitability of their PV projects by collocating them with batteries, well, they will not come true. So we'll see in, let's say, by the end of 2028, how these products will work, how these batteries will work to actually do the job for which they are designed and programmed to stabilize the grid. Because there is, I would say, this paradox. One thing is the operators, well, they have their own view what the batteries should work for, and there's the perspective of the investor to earn.
Thank you, Irena. Now that you spoke about cable pulling, Nicola, you said hybrid systems, it's becoming a success. In Bulgaria, it's becoming probably one of the countries that also in Europe are focusing on these systems, and it's very interesting to see this. And as you know, this week we have a project being launched on hybrid systems. So how do you manage to have this success? Because there is still a bit of less of understanding what is an hybrid system and the policies to make it. How do you make this a shining country and a flagship country probably on these kind of systems?
That's a very good question. How do you manage? I think it's like learning to do a backflip. You fall on your head 10 times, and the 11th time it works. So, I mean, I dare say that Bulgaria doesn't have the best record when it comes to permitting. You know, normally it used to take ages to develop a wind project, a solar project. So let's say wind is 6 to 10 years. Solar has been 3 to 5 for the utility scale projects. Now it's better, it's getting better, especially in the last couple of years. And with storage, I think policymakers at some point realized that what we are telling them is indeed the way to go. Simplify it as much as possible. It's a tool to not only enable new renewable projects and to help existing ones serve the needs of the grid better and also of off-takers, but it's just the right time. I mean, we have seen costs falling down more than 50% over the last 2 years. I'm actually coming back from China. I was at a conference there. What I heard blew me away, so I think that we might indeed see over the next couple of years another halving of the price. So it's just the right thing to simplify administrative processes, and that's what Bulgarian policymakers have done. So currently, it's just a matter of a simple annex to the existing grid connection agreement, be it a preliminary one, a final one, or already a project that is operational. And then you can add as much storage as your AC capacity already allows for. So if you have a 100 megawatt AC utility scale project, you can add a 100 megawatt AC battery, which means it could be a 2-hour battery, 3-4-hour battery, depending on what the investor considers reasonable. And I think this is perhaps the way forward. So this is something that's a low-hanging fruit. It doesn't cost anything. It utilizes existing grid connection agreements anyway. And for new projects, I don't see a very easy financing negotiations for solar-only projects and for wind-only projects. I mean, wind is obviously less threatened by cannibalization as of yet, at least in our region, although we've seen some cases in Greece which point to the opposite. But balancing is going to be massively more expensive if you do not have a storage system of sorts. So, long story short, permitting has been simplified to a big extent, especially the grid connection part, I think, is super simple now, and this has led to a big surge in grid applications for standalone BESS and also for hybrid projects. There are several hybrid projects already under construction. 2 of them were commissioned last year. Actually, one was a pure hybrid, so solar and storage constructed at the same time. One was an old operational solar adding storage, and now there are plenty, so I don't even keep track anymore. And I think yesterday, Senotech, one of Solar Power Europe's members, managed to commission the first standalone BESS. I think a 10 megawatt battery, 3 hours in duration. and this is the first of many. So I would say indeed at least 2 gigawatt hours of batteries to be commissioned over the next year.
Well, I think these are great examples. I'm very happy to listen to this, and how you say how simple it is with the small steps we managed to achieve that, and we hope that other countries manage to do the same. Yes, Jan?
Very short question, if I may, Mike. If you have the subsidies, Nicola, for the battery additionally added to existing PV power plant, because that's not what's going to be possible, eligible in Czech Republic.
No, I think those are subsidy-free projects.
Subsidy-free
All of them,
projects.
yeah. So subsidies are only available for new projects that are
Hybrid and also for...
Although actually, when you say this, for some projects that were recently commissioned, they are still eligible to participate in the National Recovery and Resilience Plan auctions. So there are systems which were, let's say, commissioned as pure solar systems a year or two ago. They have participated, they have won, so they're now going to also add storage, which is partly financed by these programs. But the incentive with negative prices, low prices, or the market signal is so strong now that I think it's just going to happen one way or another.
I think you can also continue tomorrow this discussion at 4 o'clock with my colleague Simon. We will discuss the hybrid system economization and financing. So I think you will have time to do a lot of questions, hopefully also to give some answers to all questions on the stage. And now you're speaking about the difficulties on financing projects, and I understand, Andrea, that Romania has reopened funding for storage projects that are supporting renewables integration. But are there still challenges remaining regarding financing these projects? Can you tell us a bit more on this?
Yes. We started with the Recovery and Resilience Fund, I think, almost 2 years ago, when we had our first call for storage. It was the first experience for the authorities, but also for us as developers or investors. We learned some things from that first experience. After that, we had the Modernization Fund. We are one of the countries which are benefiting from this. And the pot for this is around 150 million euros with a cap of 100k euros per megawatt for the state aid. This is the call for the hybridization of the existing power plants. And we have another one which is now in public debate, around the same amount of money, 150 million euros, but for standalone storage with the same restrictions. So from the financing, let's say, for the CapEx, I think we are in a pretty good position. What we don't have the visibility is, I think it's already mentioned by one of our co-speakers, it's related to the implementation, because we don't know for sure how many projects are now in construction or will start construction in this period of time. So this is unclear, and they don't have the obligativity to report the stages of the development and the next phases. Related to other, let's say, challenges, I think we improved a lot. For permitting, it's pretty clear. It's straightforward. I think more or less 1 year you can have the building permit for a storage facility. Related to the grid connection, it's more or less, I think, the same situation like in Bulgaria. As Nicola said, you can apply for an update of your, if you have already a grid connection permit, you can have an update of your existing grid connection permit. And let's say more or less easily you can have there also the storage. For standalone batteries, depends on you want to connect. At the beginning was easily because the TSO and maybe also the DSO wanted to have storage in the system, and they were more open to give you the grid connection permit. After that, when we started to have an increased number of projects in the pipeline, I said, okay, now I think we're gonna close the possibility to have easily the grid connection permit and the connection become more and more, let's say, complicated for developers. We had also some good news coming from the authorities. They removed some, let's say, taxes or levies around green certificates, around the extraction of the electricity from the grid, cogeneration tax, and I think it's another one I don't remember right now, in order to incentivize the large deployment of storage. Besides that, we have the TSO 10 years network development plan, which in their opinion, we need around 10,000 megawatts hour to be in our system in order to cope with the targets for renewables for 2030. We are seeing the first storage facilities as standalone in Romania. I think more or less there are 70, 80 megawatts installed. In this moment of time, some of other capacities are in construction. And for sure, it's the same situation like in Bulgaria, and for sure it's also in other countries. Now you cannot think for solar without having in mind clearly to have also storage in place. Yep. It's a clear cannibalization. We saw starting February, I think, the first negative prices. Some days, not so many days, but also we saw last year we had several days with negative prices, and so I think it's complicated to have the numbers for a solar project in Romania now. What I forgot to tell you is that we're going to have, at least that they told us, the authorities told us, that we're going to have a CFD design for storage. It's not clear that will be batteries or be batteries with hydro pump storage, or will be only hydro pump storage, but it's clear that will be a mechanism for CFD for storage.
That's great news. I don't know about you, but I've been learning a lot during this time. Thank you so much, Andrea, and all the other speakers. I would like now to invite from the audience. I see there is already a hand there raised here in the middle. I think my colleague is, okay, she's going around. We come back here. Can you please just say your name and state your question and to who the question is directed?
First one, who was the first one?
Yeah.
Hello, thanks for this. My name is Eric, and I work at the Nordic Swedish aggregator. And we aggregate over 10,000 distributed resources, both residential, CNI, and utility batteries. And these mainly deliver in front of the meter services, most noticeably ancillary services, but also local flexibility, where the DSO procures that. And I wonder to what extent batteries in your respective country deliver in front of the meter services, and specifically residential and CNIs, and what's the latest developments from the TSO in opening up to deliver ancillary services from aggregated resources such as FCR and FRR?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I might start. We can provide ancillary services from both, from residential as well as from large scale. We have a first certified 1 megawatt block of households. For aggregation of flexibility, we have more than 50 aggregators already certified in Czech Republic. Batteries can be used, and the only reason why they are not commonly used is that, as I mentioned, we are waiting for the law for standalone batteries to take place since the 1st of October of this year. However, all the batteries behind the meter, including the large ones, we have already 22, 25 megawatt hours projects being online together with other sources, and all of them are the part of aggregation blocks. And this number is increasing. All the new BESS are just, of course, joining immediately the aggregation blocks and provide the ancillary services. And TSO is so much happy of the new flexibility, and they state it out loud. Thank you for the question.
We have time for more questions.
Just very quickly to add, in Bulgaria we don't have that many CNI and residential systems yet. It's a couple of utility scale ones and many more utility scale to come. There are going to be many CNI as well. So aggregators are indeed there. Some services are accessible, others not. We're working with the TSO to, let's say, open up the ones that are not yet there. And I think that due to the sheer volume of projects that are going to come online, perhaps these markets are not going to be that lucrative, though. It's going to be some revenue stream, but currently it seems it's going to be mostly arbitrage. But arbitrage in this volatile market is, anyways, the game in town, it seems.
Thank you. I see that there is a lot of questions. We will take one more here or two, if my colleague says yes. But I also inform you we have a coffee break after, so we can continue networking. So don't worry, you're going to have opportunity to speak also with the speakers. Please.
Hi, I'm Conal Bulger from the Irish Solar Energy Association. I suppose I have an offer and a question. Just CFD auctions came up a lot. We're on our 5th round of them, so very happy to share experience and pain with any of the panelists or anyone else in the room. I think, like, for all the reasons we heard in the main hall and all the stuff you guys have talked about, the hybrid piece is really a no-brainer, and it's been the laggard. We're finally moving on some of the technical elements of it, but it's the route to market bit that is still kind of missing in terms of creating a financeable product. And the moves in each of your markets, they're all kind of different, but you've all made different forms of progress. And I suppose in terms of, we have the system operators are aligned, the industry is aligned, policymakers seem to favor it, the regulator wants to scratch their chin and think about it for a couple of years. Maybe just be good to kind of, from your experience, what arguments, what's worked and what hasn't worked? See if I can steal something from you guys.
I think we need a couple of beers for that. Okay. It's sandboxing, to be honest, at least in our case. So we've tried out different things. Some have worked, others not. I have some idea about Romania. I think Andrei is doing great work there in Iran and everybody else. So it's never one size fits all.
Hello, I'm Gabriela Văcăriță. I'm Chief Editor with Energynomics, is the communication platform for energy in Romania. Thank you for the great panel with this opportunity to look back in the future, in the history of developing the renewable industry in Europe, with Poland more advanced and the other countries following then. I'm curious, based on this promise that the industry is making, that the prices will go down, and it's something that the manufacturing industry in Europe expects, given the fact that in the region prices tend to be little or much higher than in the rest of Europe. When do you expect the prices will be lower, given the integration of BESS? And at that moment, do you expect any kind of problems for the industry? Thank you.
I mean, very quick answer on my side. First, we need to have a single European market, not several single European markets in the separate regions. So there is a bottleneck between Hungary and Austria, which makes it hard, to really have proper coupling of our regional markets, Bulgaria, Greece, Romania, with the Central European ones. So that's one thing. Storage as such is not a silver bullet, so it's not going to reduce prices as such, but it's going to alleviate volatility, and it's going to provide solar and storage or solar and wind in times where prices are extremely high due to not having solar and wind available. But when it's stored, you can distribute it. So this is going to alleviate some pressures. And ultimately, I think the cost of equipment is going to continue to fall. What part of it is going to be produced in Europe and What elsewhere is another question, but I think renewables, especially solar, but also wind, have done an incredible job over the last decade. I think over the last 5 years as well, we've saved as a union in Europe more than, I think, 60 billion euros that otherwise we would have spent on natural gas. So I think we're doing great, but obviously industry needs to have cheap electricity, and now with the Clean Industrial Deal, there are very important steps being done. I think de-risking renewable corporate procurement is key. So having some guarantees to help consumers commit longer term, this is a win-win, clearly. So have reliable, cheap, renewable electricity for 10, 15, 20 years is going to also make the business model of new renewable systems. And you just need to remove some unnecessary guarantees or bring in the EIB, the European Investment Bank, as a deal facilitator by providing these guarantees on behalf of industrial consumers. I think this is going to solve many, many issues.
Thank you. Anyone would like to add a last note, just to close?
I think it's not just a regional problem. It's also depending on each country. For example, Romania is neighboring Black Sea, like Bulgaria, so we cannot import from Black Sea. Second is depending on other capacities, which in case of Romania will be refurbished for some years, so we'll have a lack of capacity. Third, we'll see maybe, hopefully, an increase of consumption coming from Ukraine. So this could trigger also other things. So it's regional for sure, but it's also national in order to tackle this increased price we are seeing in our countries.
I would, yep. Sorry.
Okay, so from my perspective, it's always in Poland. It's always discussion: can we afford this? Can we afford this?
Yeah.
And of course, renewables are always too expensive. And well, I think it's a matter of actually calculating. Well, we still have like 60% of electricity, almost 60. It's dropping. It's dropped from 80 during the last 8 years. But coal and lignite. So we should do a real calculation, not only LCOE, what it costs us to maintain that much fossil capacity in our market. And wouldn't it actually cost us less if we invested in, well, in the capacities that we already have, I mean the renewables, that also already cost us so much private and public money. When I mean public, I mean the state, private investors, but also the 1.2 Polish prosumers, right? So a great deal of money and so much waste on curtailment. So if we invested some of the money that goes to subsidizing coal, if we invested it in actually batteries and making the grid more flexible, it would be a better investment than in putting money in something that's actually going to end anyway. 10 to 12 gigawatts of capacity is to go from the Polish system during the next decade. We have no option but to be more flexible. And the question is how fast we realize that what is actually the option that pays off better for us.
Thank you. Very quickly, Jan.
Yeah, it's also a perspective of the political approach, what we have done 6 years ago. We are well interconnected with Germany. We have coupled markets, Germany, Austria, and Czech Republic. So all the cheap power from oversurplus from wind and solar was supposed to go through Czech Republic. And you know what Czech Republic did 5 years ago? Not to build the batteries. They banned that at the time. The politicians had a opportunity to encourage storage and flexibility into law, and they didn't do it. And they invested 2 billion Czech crowns, which is like 100 million euros, into phase shifters they placed on the borders to return the price less power or very low price power back to Germany.
Same case in Poland.
Okay.
Big success.
Thank you. Thank you for the amazing speakers I had today on stage. I definitely understood the future is solar and storage together, and we should exchange much more between not just countries but also regions, because we have a lot to learn from each other to make this transition successful. Thanks all, and thank you also for the audience. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you.